Well, now, here we go, I guess. This is Hollywood High that I was just telling you about. And look over there, you see the Hotel Roosevelt. Now, you may have heard some stories about the Hotel Roosevelt, but let me tell you about it. Now, we going up here. This is a Hollywood High. But you know, on that Hollywood Roosevelt, you ever heard of a guy by the name of D.W. Griffiths? Well, I tell you what, there's some people coming at me. I hope they don't rob me or try to. I'd hate to have to hurt them. And so here we go, and we're talking about the Roosevelt Hotel, and you know, those at the Roosevelt Hotel. You remember a guy by the name of D.W. Griffith? He was the biggest guy in the history of Hollywood. He's actually the that huge name that you've heard of, D.W. Griffith, the big guy. He spent the last 20 years of his life in the Hotel Roosevelt, and here's a guy that's doing wild things with the sign. Good moves. And he's selling something. Here comes a guy with a face mask. Thought he was going to pull a blade on me, but I'm going to go over here. I got to get back to D.W. Griffith, though. Let me see this sign action. All right. We're going with this sign action here. Now we're looking at this thing again. You see Carol Burnett and Canty and Flaws. And let's see, a bunch of other ones. There's Dorothy Dandridge. And I know you've heard about all of them. Over there's the El Capitan. And then there's Lowe's. Lowe's had to get his big name in that thing. But we're going now. Let me see if we're rolling. I think we're rolling. That's always good. But let me tell you, we're going to be looking. Now, I don't want to get on the bad angle of the sun here. I think I might have just been in there. But now we're going to look at this cornucopia of stars here. Now look at that. Who do we see? Well, now, I think we got, looks like Shaya on the right, fifth from the right. She's a lovely person. We all love her opinions on everything. So smart. And then we got Ricky Nelson. Now Ricky, I always thought of him, look at this guy in the street here, he's turning handsprings. Wow, maybe he'll do it again. That guy with a sign, he's going wild. No handsprings now, but we're going back to Ricky Nelson. He, for you that don't remember him, he was a star in the 60s, really in the 50s. He was basically an Elvis. But, look at him. He looks like Elvis. He was an Elvis, and he had singing talent, and he was handsome. He had everything Elvis had except one thing. And no, it wasn't talent. He had talent too. But he didn't have any charisma. He didn't have any real personality. It was flat. And so I would tell you folks, just a little secret. The person with the personality and the charisma, I think that's more important than anything. Looks, talent, what have you. If you're charismatic and you have personality, you're going to go far because people like you. And when they like you, your career moves ahead. And the girls jump in bed. And that's the way it is when you have charisma and personality. Now, I won't say who else has it, but I'll leave that blank. I don't want to sound too whatever. But now we go to the next two, and maybe you know, maybe you don't. But that one there, next to him on the right is Mr. Bruce Lee. And then we have one, that is the Sheik. What, the Sheik of Araby? No. That is the Sheik Rudolph Valentino, the big superstar of the world. And there he is. And there's our little, next to him, there's Judy Garland, of course, our little Judy, Wizard of Oz fame. Everybody loves her. And they're all in, you see the curtain behind them. And this is Hollywood High. Now, I got to ask you people a question. I look over there at Dorothy Dandridge, and I look at Bruce Lee, and I look at the Sheik, Valentino, and I gotta tell you, and there's one other one there, I forget who, they never went to Hollywood High. They're on the gymnasium up here next to Dorothy, Judy, of course, and Cher and Ricky Nelson and Carol Burnett and Cantinflas. But they never went to this place. The Sheik, Valentino, please. He was an Italian boy. He never so much got within 2,000 miles of here when he was a kid. There's no nothing here. That's misleading. And so they put up these four people. I looked it up in the dictionary. Why would they put up four people on the mural that's here on Hollywood High, representing Hollywood High? Why would they put up four people that never even went here? That is misleading, I would say. It's not a crime, but it's misleading. But let me tell you something. I read why they did it. They put Dorothy Dandridge up and Valentino. I don't see how that really applies, but Bruce Lee, in an effort to show diversity. And, I thought about that. That's an interesting thing. They did not go here. If this was on a billboard somewhere and it wasn't on Hollywood High school grounds, I would say put it up on your billboard. It doesn't matter. But, it's on Hollywood High School property. This is a very famous mural. And they're putting ringers up there, 4 of them. And they say that it's because they want to include diversity. Well, let me tell you something. That's not the truth of who went here. And that's one of the main things I'm doing this whole series on Hollywood. They never tell the truth. They always shade it. They always mislead. They always have little stories that they want to tell you of how you can be a better person and improve yourself. They are very paternalistic and arrogant and elite. So you see, they're phoning up this thing on the side of the Hollywood High School. And you can look at that another way, can't you? You can see that they're adding diversity here to some place that didn't have any diversity. Right? So this is a lie and a cover-up about how diverse Hollywood was when in fact it wasn't. Now you could make an argument on that case too, couldn't you? That's the problem when you tell lies and you shade the truth and you're always misleading, which Hollywood certainly does. I said before, you look at that big Hollywood sign up on the hill there, we can't see it here. I think they should replace that Hollywood with Hypocrisy City. That would be more accurate, you see, because that's what you get here. You get hypocrisy. They're trying to, if you want to look at it that way, it's wrong for 2 reasons. They're just simply flat out lying, but also for a person sensitive to the diversity issue, you could say, no, these people didn't go here. They're bringing them in as ringers to make Hollywood feel better about themselves. That's wrong, too. So they're wrong on both counts. They're wrong on that issue, and they're wrong on the PC issue, as they always are, because you see, you need to tell people the truth. I am not a child, although I talk like one, but I can figure these things out for myself. I don't need any messages in Hollywood movies to tell me how to think, as they always do, and I don't need any ringers brought in and put on the mural that didn't go there to mislead me. And that's what it does, it misleads. And that's kind of rotten, I would say. Try to adhere to the truth. If you're on the right, if you're on the left, if you're on the middle, if you're up, if you're down, it doesn't matter. Just tell the truth and let the chips fall where they may. Because, you know, on lies like this, you offending people on both sides of the equation. So you really offending everybody. No need to do that unless you consider yourself very elite and you're very arrogant and you know everything about everything. Now here's Mills Drive-In over here, and look at that pretty girl up on there. You know, I wonder if I walked over to that sign and I looked up, I wonder if she's wearing any underwear. What do you think? Well, I'm not quite that coarse, so I'll just stay right here, and I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to have a picture of John Ritter. They added on the side there when he died. You know, I like that John Ritter boy. He was a really cool dude. I liked that show of his. I thought it was very funny. They had first Suzanne Summers, and then that Jenny Lee Harrison, and she didn't click, but then they had that fabulous Priscilla Barnes. I thought she was just too much. She was fantastic. What a woman. I remember I saw her in a nude magazine spread. Well, boy, I tell you, I won't say any more, but she was just lovely. I couldn't get enough of her if I tried. And there's old John. I like that kid. Now, when I'm going to walk back to my car here. I can't go on forever, although I would certainly like to. I remember stories about Dorothy when she... look at all this traffic. Look at all this noisy traffic coming up here. Everybody going somewhere. We got a little piece of sunshine here that's got the blues. We got somebody's face that I don't want to look at. But getting back to Dorothy here, as I will try to do, as a good, sharp ace reporter will do. You know, Dorothy, when she was on making that Wizard of Oz, you know, everybody on that lot was trying to get in her pants, to put it rather crudely. I gotta tell you, all of the munchkins, all of the bigger people, you know, back in those days, they'd all carry flask around. And they'd, you know, be drinking from the flask, and they'd all be trying to entice Dorothy into their trailers so they could get a little something. But Dorothy stayed true. She didn't give anybody anything that I know of. She was only 13 years old, but of course, that's what made her all the more attractive to most men, because most men, as we know, just nothing but animals and pigs. So, now across the street, we got a group that says, I don't know what, Jesus loves you, and Jesus is my Savior, and there's a whole bunch of them over there, and they're doing the Lord's work, and who can argue with that? Well, maybe I could, but I won't now. But back to Dorothy, yeah, she was, you know what Dorothy's problem was? And of course I mean Judy. I know it. I'm an amateur psychologist, but don't think that means I don't know what I'm talking about. Dorothy's problem was she was a beautiful little kid, but when she grew up, she wasn't so beautiful. She was just average. She wasn't ugly, but she was average. And now she was in a movie business where everybody else was beautiful, and she was just average. She had a tremendous inferiority complex about that. She never felt that she was good enough. She slept around with men and women all over the place, as many girls do when they feel they're not adequate. Of course, that didn't solve anything. Then she got into drugs and all that. But, you know, it's one of those things. When you're a child, you can be beautiful. But when you turn 18, your looks are gone. And that's what happened to Judy. And so all the drugs and men in the world couldn't make up for that. Every time she'd come up on the studio lot, she'd be surrounded by 20 beautiful women. And then there was her. And that really, and there's the Lord's Swords, the God Squad over there. They're doing their thing. But, I say, more power to them. But see now, that was Dorothy's problem. She had to face a studio lot of beautiful women, and she was average. And that, it was just like every day getting hit with a hammer on the head when you came onto the studio. Let me tell you. Oh, and I'll just give you one other tip about Mr. Valentino there. I think he died when he was 29. I'm not sure what the circumstances were exactly, but 29 is kind of weird death age to die. But, you know, Hollywood and all its intelligence, they brought his brother over from Italy, and they gave his brother like 6 or 7 face jobs, nose jobs, lifted his face. They tried to remake his face to look like Valentino. And the idea was he was going to step into Valentino's shoes and take over for him as a star, because he had all these facelifts and nose jobs. Of course, when he went in front of the camera, he was a dud. He went nowhere. And the last 50 years of his life he spent as a clerk somewhere. But that's the kind of intelligence you have here in Hollywood. It'd be like if Robert De Niro died, and then they brought in De Niro's brother, gave him a bunch of facelifts, and said, well, now you're taking over for Robert. That makes a lot of sense. That shows the intelligence of the executives in this movie industry now, doesn't it? Wowee. So let's see. I think I covered the basics here. Nice looking women down there. There's good old Carol Burnett. Who can't like her? And then there's good old John Ritter on the side. But that's my Hollywood high school mural and my commentary. And that, I think, is just about going to do it. This is going to be part 2 of that earlier one with Diane Keaton and my girlfriend up there. They are not one and the same, but you got a little bit of taste of Hollywood now. And look at that birds of prey up there with that little girl. So there we go. I'm going to fade this baby out right about now. We're going to fade to black, as they say. See, I'm very sophisticated. Here goes the fade to black. And we're going. So, how am I going to turn this mother off? We got to